Everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica. On this week's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Castlevania Dracula X, released in 1995 for the Super Nintendo. This is a remake of Rondo of Blood, released in 1993 for the PC Engine, and why they gave us this game versus porting Rondo of Blood will always remain a mystery to me. Before we get too far in, go down and hit like and subscribe, hit that bell. You might hate me after I'm done with this episode, but subscribe now. And the reason you might hate me is, I know this isn't the most loved game in the Castlevania series, but I think this game is absolute hot garbage. I cannot stand it. I am terrible at it. The controls feel weird. The gameplay is middling at best. The best part about this game is the soundtrack and the visuals. That fire in the background and the fire coming through these windows looks absolutely amazing. And I love this game for that. But as far as gameplay is concerned, the fact that this is what they came up with, using Rondo of Blood as a template, is absolutely shocking to me. Now, Super Castlevania 4 is a great game. It's definitely got its problems, and I will bring those up because you are going to see an episode on it. A little spoiler alert there. But as far as Dracula X is concerned, this just seems like a cheap, lazy rush job to get this game onto store shelves before Christmas 1995. And that is the really disappointing part, is this game could have been so much better. The sum of its parts equals really bad game, but if you take things, step by step and look at everything individually, there is some element in this game that is promising, but not everything. Like I said, this fire in the background is absolutely stunning, and this is a take from Rondo of Blood, but you are going to see here that I'm going to fall into a hole, or maybe I cut that out. I can't really remember at this point in time. That's how much I hated playing this game. I cut it out, I made the jump, and I still fell. The jumps in this game are absolutely pixel perfect in some spots. Now, I'm on the first boss here, and I can beat Rondo of Blood from start to finish. I might continue once, but it's really not that hard. I can't even seem to beat the first boss in this game, and that is going to be a trend. I use passcodes the entire time to be able to beat the game, or at least get far enough in to show you something halfway interesting. And that's something that I just don't understand about this game, is that the control and the overall gameplay of it feels really janky, and it almost feels like I'm dropping frames. Now I'm playing this on a PVM, and I'm taking the signal out of the PVM and putting it into the computer, so I actually have no lag in my inputs. And that's something I've always had an issue with Dracula X, is that it just never really feels like a very fun or controllable game to me, especially when all the bosses, half of what they're doing occurs off screen, and that feels like it's a really cheap element as well. And I'm dead, so we're just going to completely skip to another level. Now, as far as the history of this game is concerned, it's always been one of those controversial releases. It's always been compared to Rondo of Blood because obviously it is a remake, and it's never going to compare well to Rondo because that game is a perfect Castlevania game. But I think that some people actually apologize for this game a little bit more than it really deserves, because as far as what we got versus what we could have been given, it really is just not great. I don't know why Konami just didn't redo some of the graphics from Rondo of Blood. I mean, granted, you lose that CD audio, but you could have just, done some MIDI tunes, and it would have been something that was absolutely amazing. Get hit by the little monster there, that little seaman, and then I am dead in the water. The kickback on this is worse than I feel like any other Castlevania game has. I took one hit from an enemy and I lost a life. I didn't even have a chance to recover from it. And that is definitely a trend in this game, where one hit in the wrong spot and you are 100% dead. And that's something that is known from the Castlevania series, that knockback when you get hit. But I feel like in Castlevania Dracula X, it's even worse than some of the other games around it. Big issue, like I said, is that I want to love this game because looking at the backgrounds, they look absolutely stunning. They're colorful, they're bright, the use of depth is really impressive for a Castlevania game. Definitely looks a lot better than Super Castlevania 4, and it definitely takes out that Mode 7 element, which I didn't love in the original Castlevania game for the Super Nintendo. It was definitely hokey, but it was just something that they had, and that's not here in Dracula X, and I do appreciate that. But you'll see here, just trying to even attack these enemies, this is a notorious level in this game. People have complained about it before, but I have a full health bar and I can barely get through, and I'm 99% sure when I played this game, you're going to see very shortly, I just ended up dead. And that's the problem, again, is that you just get beat up in this game and it stops being fun. I mean, Castlevania games have always been challenging, but that challenge kind of informs the player as to wanting to continue. You learn the patterns, you play a little bit more, and everything becomes a little more fun. Just an item crash there, and I barely took any health off the boss's bar. This bat is going to completely destroy me, and in another Castlevania game, I could beat him handily. And that's what I really just don't get about this game, is that it feels like work. It doesn't feel like fun. It's always frustrating. I almost cut this game from the series completely because I was having so little fun playing it that I really just wanted to turn it off and say, screw it, I'll show you another Castlevania game. But I decided, as opposed to getting rid of it completely, I would just kind of tear it apart and see what you guys think. If you do love this game or you do defend it, go in the comments below and tell me why. I'd love to hear your opinion because I'm sure it's going to be different than mine if you like it. But I would love to hear why you think this game is good. Or if you agree with me or you have another opinion, just go ahead and leave it below and I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Right here is just going to be another example of what I just don't really care for of this game. The platforms, they're a little hard to jump onto, but not too bad. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically lose my sub-weapon there. They tricked me into that, and that was a real bummer. But I can't really be too mad about it because Castlevania loves tricking you into taking bad sub-weapons, putting you in spaces where you just can't keep what you want. And that death right there is completely my fault. I just jumped over. What you're going to see right here, when the little guy comes up, he knocks me off the platform, and I am 100% dead. I didn't even have a chance to attack him. When he came up, I hit the whip, I missed him, and then I'm instantaneously just going to take a quick death. So now we are in the cavern level, and we have these mud men, and once again, the game looks stunning. And that's what I wonder, like when they developed this game, what they were really focusing on. Because the music's great, the backgrounds, all the animation, all the enemies look impeccable. I absolutely love looking at this game. If you pause it, it looks amazing to me, but I feel like the developers over at Konami just decided, hey, we'll work on the visuals, we'll work on the music, and then we should probably put some gameplay in secondarily. That jump right there is very difficult, and that's one of the issues I have with the game, is that some of the jumps are so pixel perfect that it becomes really difficult even to play the game. Get up there with a backflip, but it's kind of not really indicating that you need to use a backflip to be able to get up there, and that's just another area of the game that I'm confused about. And that's the thing. I didn't want to show Rondo of Blood because that game has been talked about so much. What do I really have to add to it? So I'm like, okay, I'll do Dracula X. And I've tried to play this game many times before. It's been in my personal collection probably for like 5 years now. And I've always turned it on, struggled to get through the first or second stage, and then turned it off and just decided to go do something else. And that's definitely not a good sign when you sit down and you're excited to play a game, and then halfway through you're like, you know what, maybe I'll actually go vacuum the floor instead. That's really showing you that it's a poor game. And here we are on the death fight, or maybe shaft. I think this is actually shaft. I'm not quite sure the enemies in this game. That's how little I actually seem to care about it. And I'm going to make some good headway with my attacks. I've kind of got him in a juggle stage right here, and everything's working out really well for me. But you're going to see very shortly, I take one hit, and then I'm basically dead in the water. I get that stun, it's going to come down, I'm going to get hit immediately again, and I basically just get juggled back and forth until my life is completely gone. And that feels unfair. Now I love a challenge, but you see, I get hit by that little ball right there, the little projectile, right down into the skeleton, and before I even have input on my player, I die. And that is unfair gameplay versus actual challenge. And that's the biggest issue with this game, is that it really just feels like unfair gameplay is the cause of the day. Yet this music and the background are absolutely stunning, and it makes me want to love the game, but I can't. And that's its biggest sin, is that it makes you think it's going to be really great, and then it ends up being one of the worst Castlevania games I've ever played. But tell me your opinion below. I really want to know what you guys think. This is the first episode I've done commentary the entire way through. Normally I just let you guys watch some gameplay in the middle, but I had to just trash this game as much as I possibly could, even though I didn't want to. I wanted to love it. And this Dracula fight is the worst Dracula fight in any 16-bit Castlevania game. You take one hit, you fall in those pits, and you're completely done. That meat's not going to help you when you take an insta-death. Short of that, we'll be back on Friday with another episode in our Technicality series, and we'll be back on Tuesday with a much better game about Dracula. Short of that, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on Friday and next week. Have a great week. I am dead. I'll die again quickly. This game sucks. Bye-bye.